Welcome to this session on the role of especially business education and training in the transformation towards a more sustainable development or just society, or in the transformation towards in the systems change that we all needed, as we've heard in the plenary sessions and breakups. My name is Eva Rood. I'm director of RSM's Positive Change Initiative, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. I'm co-hosting this session with Florencia. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Florencia Librizzi. I'm head of program and partnership at the SDG Academy SDSN, and it's really a pleasure to be with all of you. And thanks so much, Eva, for bringing me into this session.
Yeah, and we've heard some criticism about what business schools have done wrongly in the past, but we hope to share a number of front-runner initiatives with you and to give you some help. But we also would like to see if we can mobilize co-creation or collaboration efforts in the only 45 minutes that we have today. We'll introduce the other speakers in a minute as we give them the floor. I'll now try to figure out how to share my screen. Yep. So far, so good. Yeah. Kom dan in. Yeah. Here you go. So, Rotterdam School of Management. When we saw the announcement of the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015, we noticed that they were focusing on positive frames. Most of the SDGs were focusing on positive frames instead of negative frames. So instead of avoid doing harm, it was try and shift society towards clean energy or sustainable societies. And that coincided greatly with our adoption of a new mission, namely, we are a force for positive change. And I'd like to share very briefly a bit of the journey that we then took at RSM to see how we could live up to this mission to be a force for positive change. And a huge source of inspiration has been this lady, Dr. Wangari Maathai, Nobel Peace Prize winner, who shared this beautiful story of a hummingbird in which focuses around that even the smallest contributions, even big change, start with small contributions. And as she said, it's the little things the citizens do that make the difference. And her little things was planting trees, and by planting trees and sharing the importance of planting trees with local communities, she mobilized hundreds, later thousands, later tens of thousands of people to start regreening their own lands and to take control of their own situation. So to us, the hummingbird is a central symbol at RSM on how we see our force of positive change. Or as one of my Spanish colleagues explained, what you see here, maybe Luis, you're from Portugal, sorry. What you see here is the highlight of a Catalonian year. It's an annual festivity in which all citizens of a certain area of a village have to gather and build a human tower. And on top of this tower, a 7-year-old child has to climb. And in this picture, you can see that everyone in the system plays a role. If one of them doesn't pay attention, then the tower will collapse and the child will be at risk. So for us at RSM, we see that if you study marketing management or logistics or supply chain, or you do an MBA or a bachelor, doesn't really matter. When you graduate and go into society, you can always play a role in driving the change to sustainable development. This is the philosophy behind everything we've done in the past years. Now, to provide you a couple of examples of what we've done, and I think my colleague Joey shared a couple of links to these publications, but we started to issue publications, free frameworks that can trigger professionals to rethink, for example, their corporate strategy in relation to the SDGs, or their corporate strategy in relation to ecosystems or sustainable finance, etc. And once these books were there, they were often followed by MOOCs, so free online open courses, as you can see here. We have one on driving business towards the sustainable development. We have two on landscape restoration, and there's a MOOC on principles for sustainable finance. And then, to mobilize our students, we decided to launch a Hummingbird Fund, which gives micro-grants to students who have a great idea that can make a local impact. For example, see if they can upcycle old t-shirts, or educate kids on the importance of biodiversity by building bee beds with them. And then finally, we started, this picture is taken pre-COVID. We decided to establish a plant library in which we give away cutlings of plants that grow in our own offices. And why do we do that? Because it gives us an opportunity to share the story of the hummingbird, to share how we feel that change starts with the power of one, and to explain to students or whomever takes them that there's a business case for greening your surroundings. It makes you happier and it makes you more effective. So whatever you feel is more important, there's always a reason to take a plant with you and to grow it. And then finally, we decided to launch an SDG ambassador program, where we recruit 17 students that adopt a sustainable development goal for a year, and that try to mobilize activities around this. It's still in the pilot phase, so this year we have a second run of this program. We decided to arrange alumni to be the mentor for each of the students, and next year we will also build a circle of faculty members who help these students and the alumni to see if they can make a difference. Well, that's for RSM as an individual business school, just to sketch what business schools can do, or what we as RSM have done to take our share of responsibility. But I'd now like to hand over the floor to Florencia, who can zoom out a bit and tell you about what the SDG Academy does to drive systems change. Florencia?
Thank you so much, Eva, again, and a pleasure to be here with all of you. As mentioned before, it's really great that we have this conversation right now, which is so critical, and how we drive systemic change on the Sustainable Development Goals collectively. But as Eva was pointing out, that everyone and every organization has its role, yet the change requires multi-stakeholder collaboration and partnerships, just as the SDG 17 call us for, and how business schools, management-related institutions, and universities, higher education sector in general, have a key role in advancing sustainable development and the SDGs. So I think it's undeniable that SDG 4, and particularly target 4.7, that focuses on education for sustainable development and global citizenship, are cornerstone of this massive change that we need to deliver in the next years. And also the fact that the landscape has changed quite a bit, not only due to COVID-19 and the pandemic last year, but also due to the digital technology coming in and really affecting the way that we teach, that we learn, and providing many opportunities and also challenges that we need to take into account as we move forward. So clearly, business schools, we have over 16,000 business schools around the world, and I believe close to a count of 30,000 universities around the world have a huge importance. First of all, because the purpose of higher education is clearly to teach the current and future generation and empower them to really take on these important challenges. So I think we really need to reflect how we form these generations, the current, the future, and this is an important question to higher education itself, but also other questions such as how we enable lifelong learning education. And this is something, again, relevant for higher education, but also to NGOs, to governments, to businesses, right? How do we enable our employees, our stakeholders, our general audience? How do we continue to ensure that the Sustainable Development Goals are integrated into education, research, organizational practices, and so on? So at the SDG Academy, and maybe we can move to the next slide, our contribution at the SDG Academy is the flagship educational initiative of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. This initiative was launched by former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon before the Sustainable Development Goals were launched in the year 2012. And our mission and focus has been creating and curating high quality content on sustainable development available freely to everyone, everywhere. So as of now, we have a repertoire of over 35 courses, full, robust online MOOCs that we have created in partnership with faculty from all over the world to make sure that these important topics in every SDG can be taught and integrated and learned. So these are just some updates as of now. We launched these courses just to give you a sense, like the nature-based solutions for disaster and climate resilience was launched with in partnership with the PEDRR and UNEP. Is as of now, it was launched in January, 37,000 enrollments. This course is in 7 languages and 192 countries represented within the learners of this course. You see there the list, I won't read them. But there are many courses coming as we speak, and I think it's really exciting content that can be taken as an individual learner, but also integrated into classes. We have seen universities taking this as part of full credit or as a prerequisite for a class, and so on. There's many ways in which you can integrate this content. We also have over 1,500 videos in a SDG Academy library that can be searched and sorted in a quite smart and friendly way. So I would encourage you to take a look of those resources and see how this can help you in your work. Apart from this, and next slide, you will see that we've been trying to, well, this is just a quick snapshot of our impact. I think we're close to 1 million, or soon we'll be close to 1 million learners from around the world, which is quite exciting. On the next slide, we've been trying to really support our community, as my colleague Maria Cortez Puig, which is the Vice President of Network at the SDSN, probably will illustrate. We have a network members, like about 1,500 members in the SDSN networks, if I get the count right, Maria. And we've been trying to support our constituency and beyond with webinars and online lectures that were basically focusing on addressing the important issues from the pandemic itself, with lectures like the one that we see on COVID-19 pandemics, to really many other issues from governance to updating our courses constantly. So this is something else that is available in our SDG Academy library. In the next slide, you will see an exciting initiative that we launched this year in January, which is the book club with Jeffrey Sachs. Here we have hosted by Professor Jeffrey Sachs, which is the president of SDSN. Really exciting, vibrant, and very informative conversations with experts and authors of recently launched books that really touch on the most important issues of humanity, from social issues to peace and conflict, sustainable development, of course, and so on. This one that you can see is the last session that we had with Mariana Mazzucato on her recently launched book, Mission Economy. And you know, you can access this in different ways as a platform in edX where people can engage with content and discuss with other learners, through online webinars, and also with podcasts. And we have seen really, this has been a really great thing to embark in a new innovative format of content, which is short podcasts that people can listen and get informed in really key issues of our time. And the next slide, because I want to make sure that we listen from all of our wonderful and distinguished speakers that are coming right after us, our community of practice. We launched this last September, and it's meant to be an opportunity to connect and share with others, sharing peer sharing, sharing and learning good practices, as well as research and thought leadership opportunities. This is open and free for everyone. Higher education institutions from the SDSN member, which is the membership is also free, and also NGOs and businesses that are really trying to collaborate and advance together education for sustainable development for all. So I'll stop there, and I'm happy to connect with everyone bilaterally, and happy now to hear from our speakers. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Florencia. Would you like to introduce Maria Cortes? That's probably not the right pronunciation.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure to introduce Maria Cortes Puig. She's a wonderful colleague of mine, and she's the Vice President of Networks at SDSN. So Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Florencia. And Eva, you almost got it right. I would say that it's very rare that you get there.
Luzka?
Sorry, I don't know what happened. Sorry for that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I'm able to do that properly. Just to talk about one specific initiative that Florencia had proposed. So indeed, education will be critical in achieving the SDGs. We need a new set of skills as well as a new set of approaches, so a new mindset to confront sustainable development. And I think Florencia has done a very good case illustrating why. In a meeting with our member institutions a year and a half ago, it became apparent that many universities are doing a lot, but in a way it's a bit fragmented, and that they were very thirsty for some guidance. So we decided to embark in a very collaborative process with universities from around the world to write a piece that could be a guide, a very practical tool that could inspire, empower universities, but more than anything, provide examples, provide tools and resources that they could use when thinking through how to educate on the SDGs. We thought about this as a starting point, a kickstart of a conversation with the objective of creating precisely a community of practice that could share examples. This is how the guide was structured. So the why, the what, and the how, as well as a myriad of case studies, over 300 by now, coming from really every single continent of the world. I think, yes?
Apologies for interrupting. We cannot see your screen. Sorry, we can see your screen, but not the presentation at the moment.
Oh, shame. And what is it? Oh, let me see what yours. How strange. I think this is actually not my screen that you're seeing. Okay, let me see if you can. Is this it? Can you see it now?
We can. Thank you.
Okay, that's strange. That was not my screen. But anyway, so the 4 chapters: the why, the what, and the how. Florencia made a very strong case about the why. Why society needs education for the SDGs, why universities are so well placed to deliver this education, and then why this is so important for universities. In fact, consultancies, the public sector, everyone now needs to have some basic skills on sustainable development. In terms of the what, there are some clear elements to the education for the SDGs. So everyone needs to have a general knowledge of the agenda as well as sustainable development. There are some basic cross-cutting skills and competencies. And then there are very profession-specific knowledges and skills that need to be thought through in detail. there is a new mindset to contribute to the positive change. In terms of transformative approaches, we were thinking about what type of education. So education itself needs to be a bit different. We need interdisciplinarity, we need it to be more action-based, and we need it to involve actors from other sectors. What we saw was that the common approaches being used around the world were activities to raise awareness on campus and outside about the SDGs, units that were either introductory or very discipline specific, focusing on the SDGs, integration of the SDGs into the existing curriculum using lectures, readings, case studies, framing capstone projects around the SDGs, as well as using online content, and the most advanced were going all the way to developing full degrees. But the question was is this being mainstream in the university? And the reality is that not quite. So we thought about this question of how to mainstream education for the SDGs into layers. The first one would be with a more classical approach. So let's map where we're at, what are our capacities, how can we build upon these capacities, what are some of the opportunities, how can we build additional capacities using, for example, resources like the SDG Academy, and then how do we monitor and evaluate our progress. We analyzed some of the barriers and challenges that universities were facing in doing these, personal, organizational, external barriers, legislations, the silos of universities, and we used some examples to showcase how to surmount these barriers. But our conclusion was this classic approach will not be enough. It will not deliver the change at the pace and at the scale that the SDGs require. And so we thought that, in fact, to deliver education for the SDGs, universities themselves will need to transform. And so we analyzed 4 case studies that are ongoing. These are not final cases, and propose some ideas for how universities can think about this whole transformation in order to deliver education. Understanding that universities are century-old institutions that need to continue to deliver high-quality education and research while they transform themselves. So this idea of setting up a second operation system that can work with the primary operating system was one of them. I'm going to stop here to make sure that we stay within the time. And if there are any questions, happy to go into more details.
Thanks, Maria. And I have to say that your guide as well, the current one as well as the first edition that you published, were of great help for us at RSM, and we've used it a huge number of times. So thanks for this inspiring piece of work. Louise, where are you? Louise dropped out. So maybe we can now move on to my colleague, Mark.
Sure.
Who is about to take over the academic directorship of our master program, Global Business and Sustainability Management, and who also uses he uses the SDGs in his teaching for both the bachelor and master students. Martin, go ahead and look forward to your story.
Thank you, Eva. So let me share my screen. There we go. Okay, so just going to talk a bit about, of course, we want to be and try to be a force of positive change. How does it take shape in our education? And going to show you a course also that tries to implement the SDGs as part of this. So this is a bachelor course. It's called Responsible Business Leadership. And the idea is basically we want to let students just think first about their own purpose, about the purpose of business. And we tell them also about what sustainability means, what responsibility is, to talk about business ethics. And then we embed that basically in broader business domains, such as strategy, such as entrepreneurship. And the overarching framework are basically the 17 SDGs. So how does this help business to really achieve the 17 SDGs? We have some sort of innovative teaching methods for this. We actually made an animation video. So this is part of that, and I'm showing you a screenshot from that. We have a collaboration with the Positive Change Initiative by Eva. Rolf van Tilde also helped us to organize this. And we made a sort of a poster event. Now, leading up to this poster event, every student was basically assigned, or every group of students was assigned a multinational company and a specific SDG. And then they had to think about how this company could help achieve this SDG. And of course, we give them relevant theory. We let them think about wicked problems. We let them think about things like negative and positive externalities, or even about how they can go beyond such externalities and how companies can really change the system as a whole. So with all this background, they basically try to further these SDGs, and they give a presentation about this, about their own SDG. And then basically we all these SDGs, like, okay, can you now put this all together and make an integrated strategy using multiple SDGs for the company assigned to you? And they make this poster, and then we make a website where we actually present all these posters to these companies and ask these companies also for feedback, so that there's some sort of discussion between companies and students. And I can also show you how this looks like live, basically, because it's still online. So here you see the website, and you can look at different companies. So these are the companies that have been participating. So a whole list of multinationals. Each of them, we have a number of posters. So for example, Maersk, the integrated logistics company. Think container shipping from 300 ports throughout the world. Now, these are the posters that our students made, and you can see already that they really integrated multiple SDGs. So take this one, for example. We see here responsible consumption and production, for example, climate action, etc. And they come up with specific ideas for Maersk to consider basically on top of their current efforts. For example, think about new technology that allows deep sea vessels to extract hydrogen fuel from the sea. And they bring this forward to students, and then also some company representative actually gives feedback and says like, okay, very interesting idea. Have you thought about, for example, the engine size and how it affects shipping and how it can be implemented? So then we come with a sort of discussion, and some representatives also actually meet with students. They have this whole dialogue, students give a presentation, etc. And this also helps them, of course, for companies to think in terms of these new and creative ideas, going beyond just a very standard educational type of ideas. We just want to spark this creativity and say also like, okay, the sky is the limit. We encourage you to be creative. We don't have the answers either, but we can help you to find answers. And this is also the sort of dialogue we want to encourage. So this is basically how we came up with this course, how we try to also make encourage our bachelor students to be responsible leaders. And happy to also answer more questions if there are any. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Maarten. And one of the ideas for post-COVID society is, of course, to gather all the 1,300 students that do this course in one room, together with business representatives from each of the companies, and then do the live poster presentations. That was our idea also in 2019, right? So
yeah, good point. And then COVID happened, but it's going to happen again. The big poster presentation that is live.
Yeah,
we're going to do our best to do this.
Yeah, let's hope so. Thanks, Louise. May we give you the floor and share your experience with the community of practice of SDSN?
Okay, thank you very much, and I apologize because I had some problems with the internet, so I'm back. So let me try now to share my screen and not pushing the wrong buttons. And I think, can you see? Okay, great. So I'm trying to give you an overview of in the next 5 minutes. So basically what we are sharing, and I'm sharing here with you, is our SDG journey, which started last year. During the pandemic, it didn't stop us. And so basically, if we were going to start using the language of the SDGs, we would need to raise awareness in our staff and faculty. So basically, we organized several workshops online. Mainly our staff attending, but also some faculty. And just not to explain to what is the SDG 1, 2, or 3, but basically to give an overview about the contribution that each individual, either in their professional life or in his personal life, has already to this agenda. So the first step of the journey was the community training. Also, we receive our students like all the other schools in August, September. So, and it's in Nova SPE is called the Discovery Week. So they had to prepare certain projects, and in each individual project they would need to show how what they were proposing was addressing the SDG and which SDG. So, and I think it was a very good surprise. It was a very good experience. And prior to the Discovery Week, we did a survey just to know a little bit more about the awareness of this Agenda 2030 to the students. And we had very good surprises, and we had a very good reception. Then we did, okay, we can communicate SDGs, but it's important to have to show that is present in our academic programs. So we mapped all the syllabi, all the curriculums, all programs, and we identify which SDG we were addressing in each course. So we map everything. So, and that's also part of the journey. And since February this year, that students, when are making their options concerning the programs or the courses they are choosing, they know exactly what is the SDG related to each of them. Then all our papers are addressing, and we also mapped all the contribution that our faculty is publishing concerning the SDGs. Then, and I'll cover in the next slide, with Sustainable Development Solution Network, our partners, we are using the content that they make available to the members. We are using that and making available to our faculty and also to our students. And again, we are giving the tools to teach the SDGs. In September, October, we launched a Role to Play platform, which is our window of impact at Nova SPE, and it's also the platform where people can propose certain initiatives to our community, and in order to addressing the challenges we have. Agenda 2030. We are about to launch our impact model, and the next in Nova SPE we have the executive committee, and next Monday we will have an ideation session with all executive committee members, again to discuss our impact model, the outcomes and the outputs, and what should be the initiatives, how we should address the SDGs in everything we are doing in our school. Knowledge, lifelong learning, social transformation initiatives, and also again our water talk. Then we launched the accountability. I think it's important to make it visible to all stakeholders, not internal but also external stakeholders. So we launched our second edition of our Road to Impact report, where you can see the contribution of all our initiatives, all our programs, curriculums that we have to the SDGs. So this is the journey. This is past. We are already doing several things. We have several projects that are happening course of this year. But I'd like also to highlight here how what has been done with the SDSN and how we see the future. So in the first semester of the academic year 2021, we are giving access to SDG Academy Library. It's available at the Teaching SharePoint at Nova SPE's library. So everything is available. Everything, they have all the cases, all the videos that are SDSN is making available. We made a presentation in our teaching day for all faculty to explain them how to use that. And we have another platform, which is called the Nova SPE Student Hub. It's a private area for our students, where we have a direct link to the SDG Academy and to the MOOC courses. Then in the second semester, we are designing, we designed the strategy that can align with our impact model that I mentioned before, and our sustainable development strategy. And we are aligning all the resources for the new masters. We have a new generation of master's courses that which will be launched in next year. And basically, as soon as we have these ready, we are going to make it. We are going to present to all our stakeholders, and we'll monitor our faculty's integration of this SDG language through surveys that we will do to our students, just to make sure that we are not, in case of the academic programs and in case of the syllabi, we are not mentioning the SDGs, but again, at the end of the course, there's no mention on that by our faculty. So we'll do the surveys, we'll organize the surveys just to double check and confirm that in reality this is happening. So this is Nova SPE. This has been our SDG journey, and that's what we aim to continue.
Thanks much for sharing your journey. It was interesting to listen to, and I hope that you share some of the links that are in your slide in the chat, so we can have a more in-depth look. Before we go to Metamorphosing from Prime to reflect on everything she's heard today and yesterday, I would like to give the floor to my colleague Tao Yu, because we have something to launch, and I'm super proud of what she's going to share. Tao, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Eva. And it's a great opportunity to, we have very big, at least in my view, it's a very big project we're going to launch. So we have to spend about 2 years, more than 2 years, probably working with Eva, working with many colleagues, faculty members within RSM. We develop a set of SDG cases. So aim at master level students and MBAs, and those are kind of a big complex cases, which are quite different from what you see, those examples from some companies will show you about SDGs, but these are the teaching cases for the student to discuss in the classroom, addressing very often one case have a 1 or 2 focal SDGs, but also related to many different other SDGs. I will share my screen, show you the website of the SDG case collection we have. Just a moment. Is this one? Do you see the website? Do you see it? I don't know if I share it correctly. Yeah, you see it, right? So we have, you see the 17 SDGs. So each SDG, and we have maybe 1 or more than 1 case. For example, this SDG 1, we have this case is about this company, Unifruti Tropical in Philippines. You can visit the case page. Yeah, and then you can read the abstract of case, what are the learning objectives and teaching target audience and keywords and teaching note. So for all the cases, we decided to make it freely accessible to everyone. So you can download the case on this website. And then you can, of course, go to view all the other cases. If you are a teacher, you want to use the case, want to use the teaching notes, you just need to contact us. Or there's another way. I don't know if you're familiar with the case center or not. If you use the case center already to kind of buy cases, download the inspection copies, you can also download teaching notes there. So this project, as I said, we have been working on it in the last 2 or 3 years. So it's a quite massive project. We have to get into in touch with all kinds of companies, have a team formed between the faculty members and our case writers. And also thanks Eva, we based on the videos, I don't know if you have seen the videos Eva made, which was wonderful. And based on those videos of best cases, showcase of a company, kind of their practices of SDGs, and we elaborate on those videos and made into those cases. And here you have an introduction document, and which outlines our philosophy behind these cases. The philosophy is we want to embed those cases in our curriculum, so they are not separate. We don't want to teach students just the SDGs. It's not a part of our university, our curriculum, but we do want to work with the functional experts in different disciplines, for example, in marketing, in organization, HR, in finance, and in all kind of operations, for example. And so each case, on the one hand, you address some functional area. So students still needs to have those specialty knowledges. How do you be a good marketeer? How do you manage a company, being a good HR manager? But on the other hand, you have to have a holistic thinking and use the systems thinking to incorporate SDGs in everyday decision making. So what we have seen very often in the past is with the standard business cases, business case very often have very clear target decision question or dilemma, and the students are trained to be very much linear thinking. And in order to get there, we have to do this 1, 2, 3, 4. They have very good analytical thinking, but at the same time, they may run into the risk of losing the big picture. So, which is against the system thinking, the holistic thinking. So we do want to create those cases to, on the one hand, give them some tools to do business analysis. At the same time, give them a tool to be to have the holistic thinking. And I want to show you one example. For example, this one. Yeah, here is a case. It's about a warehouse. About a warehouse, the warehouse have a very clear business decision it has to make. Because it acquires a very big company, which is a Japanese company, the Uniqlo. The warehouse is based in the Netherlands. The Japanese company give them very strict rules, and in order to meet the client's requirements, it's such a big client, and they don't want to disappoint the clients. They have to increase their capacity in handling a lot of volume, 3 times as much volume as before. So this is one, on the one hand. On the other hand, this warehouse have employee-centric philosophy. So it really wants to take care of its employees. So how do you balance this? How do you be good to your employees, have maintained the employee benefit, the level of security, the level of safety, both psychologically and physically, and on the same hand, and also satisfied and the customer needs. So how do you balance these two? So it's related to SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. But it's also related to other SDGs like SDG 9 and SDG like 10, equality. Yeah, if you're interested, just go explore this website. We're super excited about that. We're also adding more cases to the set. It's not, it's complete, but we're adding more, you know, it's never finished. There are so many exciting cases, and really thanks Eva to give me this opportunity to share this with you today here. And if you have any questions, you can ask me, and I will put a website here so you can see. And you can also get in touch with me. I can share email address with you. Okay.
And congratulations with launching this series today. Like I said, I'll just repeat. I'm super proud that we made this happen, and I hope that lots of business schools find our material useful and will use them. Now I would like to give the floor to Mette, who has been patiently waiting. And I hope that you've also had a look at all the questions that were asked.
Yes.
It will be a challenge to, Rob told me that we can stay a bit longer in this room. So I would like to do that, to stay a bit longer, so you can reflect on what you heard, but maybe also reflect on the questions that were asked.
No, thank you very much, Eva. I'm afraid, that we have run out of time. So I will try to be quick. I know people have to, go to other spaces, but I'm happy to hang around here. I think it's been a wonderful presentation of I think Jill Bogie in the chat here wrote, this is like a candy store when she was watching Tao's presentation, and also a lot of comments from Jill on the wonderful SDSN work that's going on there. So I think the candy store is a good metaphor from Jill. Thank you for that, for sort of explaining or giving a good metaphor what's going on in this particular session. It's been wonderful to listen into all the amazing collections of MOOCs in SDSN and the videos, 1,500 videos, Florencia, you said, that's amazing. Such a repository of inspirational stuff that can be used by our educators all around the world. That's very wonderful and generous. So that's my first observation. I have 3 observations. I have a lot more, but I try to sort of skim it down to 3 main ones. So the candy store, fantastic. And I love all the chats sharing out here that's going on. That's already a great resource for knowledge sharing going on in the chat. Then my second observation, that's from Jill, from Gilliard in the comment here. And John, you said in one of your many comments in the chat, and thank you for that, you were sort of reminding us that of course we need the schools and we need the universities to walk the talk, but remember there's also something about talking the walk. What Professor Weick many years ago reminded us about, we should not underestimate the performativity or the power of talk. So sometimes he's sort of saying, how do you know what you think until you hear what you say? And with that, he's sort of saying, do something, act, try out, test, experiment. And then when you have seen what works and what doesn't work, then you don't forget to talk about it. In particular about what works, of course, also your failures, to knowledge share. And I like that that John is reminding us that knowledge sharing, talking the walk, is a very important thing of what we need to do more of and what we're already doing. But we need to continuously not underappreciate sharing that knowledge and talking our walk. That's very important. So thank you for that, John. My third observation is something I would love to challenge. If we had more time, I would love to challenge and this panel about and also you, Martin, being out there on the floor in the classroom. I've myself been out there on the floor in the classroom for many years, but as you may know, I left 1 year ago to take on the position as head of Prime, but I've been out there teaching at all levels. So I think that there's a new tone going on right now, and I would love to hear your reflections on that, because it used to be when I started out 100 years ago, teaching CSRs, as we were focusing on back in the days, corporate social responsibility and also business ethics, of course, to a large degree. The more, the better. So the more courses we got in, the more electives, the more core courses, the better. I think the new tone right now is focus on what is actually being taught in that classroom. What is the content? I have colleagues around the world saying, I've stopped teaching CSR because what we're doing is simply reconfirming, reiterating, old, say sort of 1.0 economics models. We are just teaching our students to, if you do more CSR, it's a kind of a branding effort. It will do good on the bottom line. That's it. It's a corporate-centric approach to teaching CSR, sustainable development. And that has certainly been important for the first, let's say, 15, 20 years. But maybe there is a time now to reconsider if the more is also the better. Maybe we need to sort of reconsider the content of those courses that we're teaching. And if we are only going for a capitalism 1.0, or maybe we should think about what capitalism 2.0 looks in the classroom, in the textbooks, in the curriculum. So instead of putting the corporation at the center of the stakeholder model, we put society at the center of that stakeholder model. And then what does that implicate for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 in our textbooks? So I'll just stop on that note. And Eva, I don't know if we have we run out of time, but that's up to you. Thank you very much for inviting me here. It's been a true pleasure.
Joining us, and also thanks for sharing your observations. I love the candy store. It's great to be in this candy store. I also like the talking the walk, so that's what we've been stimulated by Clotilde to do. We've been experimenting a lot at RSM, and he said you should start to share what you've done and what you've learned, and then see if maybe other persons can take your initiatives to another level. And the reconsidering content of what we are already teaching. I hope that our case series can be instrumental to that, because we've worked not only with our sustainability professors, but quite deliberately with professors from all of the academic departments that RSM has. So to allow them to focus on their expertise on strategic management or logistics, but then also to zoom out and do the systems change level, offer that in the teaching note. So we hope that we've now launched it 5 minutes ago, and now it's time to start to use them, and that will be another challenge. But I look forward to that. I didn't have time to read everything that happened in the chat. Florencia, have you read?
I try, and yes, maybe to acknowledge Genola and Genola Nonet, and also John Dillard's questions, comments regarding how, the important role and how universities and higher education can really deliver on climate change priorities. We know from experts how critical this is, how it's really ambitious the work that we have to do in order to deliver on the 2030 agenda in this less than 10 years. So I think I started to try to write something, but the limit was very short. So I think, this is really worth discussing and has so many aspects to it without being too simplistic, I hope. First of all, we've been discussing integrating these issues into the curricula across the board. That's a very important point. Recognizing the impact and the important aspects of environment in whether it's business or other disciplines. Putting this in the forefront of research, right? We have seen sometimes that there's not the right incentives in terms of publishing on SDG-related topics, sometimes for tenures and other obstacles there. But I think it's very important to be very intentional about the fact that this is the right agenda when it comes to research. Walking the talk, organizational practice, we need to make sure that our campuses and our operations, our strategies are aligned to the SDGs. This is huge. This is a very important work. It requires a lot of effort, a lot of investment, a lot of alignment, stakeholder alignment, and so on. And I think it's very important that in terms of collaborations and partnerships, that higher education is able to work very closely with the stakeholders, whether it's government, NGOs, business, all of the above, to deliver in the organizational change that they have to deliver, but also to influence and be really I think higher education has a huge role in influencing and also bringing the scientific knowledge and facilitating difficult discussions and finding clear solutions. So I think this is so important that I would love to stay for a long time, but I understand that we might need to close. But really appreciative of all of the comments and hearing all of the examples, wonderful examples that we're giving here.
Thanks, Florencia. And then, well, let's close this session. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Tao. Thank you, Mette. And thanks all for contributing to the lively chat that I will read after this.